morning, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at a live view of the International Space Station in orbit, in low Earth orbit, where we are counting down T-minus 1 hour, 28 minutes, and counting until the approximate docking time of SpaceX Cargo Dragon CRS-25, carrying thousands of pounds of cargo, scientific investigations, crew supplies, and more up to the International Space Station. This mission is about a month delayed, so the crew is very excited to get this payload up on station and be able to begin these scientific experiments. But if it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and you're joining us for our live launch coverage of CRS-25's docking to the International Space Station. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you here. If it's your first time here, take a moment, let us know in the chat, and for those watching, let us know where you're watching from around the world. We know there's people all over the world tuning in, and we're glad to have you here. If it's your first time here, though, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. Here at the Launchpad, we cover everybody from both the big guys to the little guys around the world. And if we ever don't cover someone and you'd like to see us, make sure you tweet us over on Twitter at @TLPN_official, or let us know in our Discord and send in a news tip. We'd love to hear from you about someone that you would like to see. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat throughout today's broadcast. We'll be trying to answer those. Just make sure you tag us at the Launchpad, and we will try to answer those as well. We've got Colin tuning in for Quebec, Mr. Fallons in New York. We got Jason in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We've got Jeanette in Renfrew, Scotland. Trues in Arden, Ontario. Great to see another Canadian. We got Donald in Connorsville, Indiana. Great to have you all here. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does help us out and help YouTube know that you're enjoying our content and maybe showing it to new people. Not many people have watched necessarily a docking before, and we are going to be back at having 2 SpaceX Dragons docked at the International Space Station. These are live views on the left side of your screen from the ISS. There you can see Crew Dragon Freedom docked to the International Space Station from Crew 4's arrival, and the Cargo Dragon will be docking, if you're imagining Freedom's at 12 o'clock, at the 9 o'clock position. That's where Dragon will be coming in to the side. Cargo Dragon will be beginning its final rendezvous here in just the next little bit. NASA should be getting underway next 5 minutes or so with their live coverage, and of course we will patch them in so we can listen into their commentary as they get ready for this final rendezvous and docking of today's CRS-25 Cargo Dragon resupply mission to the International Space Station. On board, over 5,800 pounds of cargo, scientific investigations, crew supplies, and more on board. This is the third flight of the Cargo Dragon 2 C209. That's the actual capsule itself, and this is the 5th SpaceX launch under their second cargo resupply contract with the NASA ESA and CSA for the space station. SpaceX has conducted, this will be their 25th commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station, and when it launched just about 36 hours ago, it was the 30th launch of SpaceX in 2022. Again, if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view from the International Space Station in low Earth orbit, about 400 kilometers above the surface of Earth, where SpaceX and NASA are preparing for the final rendezvous and docking of CRS-25, the cargo resupply mission. If you guys have questions, you can send us those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll be working to answer those. Also, if you haven't yet, take a moment, consider checking out our shop. We got a bunch of space gear there. We've got our SpaceX Starship-inspired collection and our Artemis-inspired collection. Definitely take a check on those. Order those now so you have them in time for both of those orbital flight tests coming up later this summer. We do have global shipping available, and we're really excited. We just launched TOP Rewards, which means the more you shop, the more bonuses you can get as well. So definitely take a look at that. It's free to join the rewards program, but we've got a few reward redeems already, and we're working on some more for in the near future. So definitely check that out there. We got lots of people tuning in from all over the world. Great to have you here. We got Uber in Tampa, Florida. We got Michael and Sarah from Western North Carolina. Great to have you all here. Roberto's in Italy. We got Lori in Oklahoma. We got Silent Fighter in Brisbane. Devi's in India. For You is in Southern Appalachians in the U.S. It's great to have you here. Colin's asking, do you have any calendar of future live launches? So, Colin, wait a few weeks, and we have a very exciting announcement that will be rolling out in a few weeks' time. So, give us a couple more weeks, and we will answer that question. Probably more so than you think we will. So, we've been working on something, dreaming up of it for the last 18 months, and we are kind of in those final stages and betas to get ready to launch something very exciting. So, we'll be able to answer that question very soon. We got Kevin in North Dakota. We got Leslie from Goulburn. Hope I said that right, in NSW. Great to have you here. John's in Florida. We got Kaylee watching from the UK. Thanks for being here with us this morning, or afternoon it would be for you. It's great to have you here. Again, if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view from the International Space Station, just over 400 kilometers above the surface of Earth in low Earth orbit, where SpaceX and NASA are preparing for the arrival of Cargo Dragon to the International Space Station for a cargo resupply mission. Dragon C208. This will be its third mission into space for that actual capsule itself. The cargo dragons don't get names, but they do get serial numbered, so we do still get to track that for today. Cargo Dragon's expected to stay docked to the International Space Station for about a month while the teams offload all their cargo, onload other cargo. There's some science that'll be brought onto station, done, and then put back on before it leaves, and then it will return to Earth in about a month's time, obviously dependent on weather and availability of the recovery fleet. And they will try to get some of that science. Some of the science, the moment the Dragon splashes down and gets up onto the boat, is actually put on helicopters and immediately flown back to Kennedy Space Center to be then deployed out to the science researchers to be able to see the impacts of the time it had in low Earth orbit with the microgravity before it gets possibly damaged by returning to gravity itself. If you guys have questions, you can take us that in the chat, and we'll be answering those live. NASA should be getting underway here in just a moment, so we'll be patching them in to listen into NASA and SpaceX Mission Control as they get ready to watch the final rendezvous and docking of CRS-25, the Cargo Dragon resupply mission at the International Space Station. Even while we got NASA's commentary up, if you guys have questions, you can keep sending us those in the chat, and we'll work on answering those. But let's listen in to NASA and SpaceX Mission Control.
This is Mission Control Houston. Good morning. You are looking at a tally-ho from one of the cameras outside of the International Space Station looking down at the SpaceX Dragon on the CRS-25 mission, carrying cargo up to the 7-member crew that is on their extended stay on the orbiting complex. Thanks for joining us for this morning's coverage. This comes a couple of days after launching from the Kennedy Space Center out in Florida. SpaceX CRS-25 Dragon has been making slow and incremental steps to get closer to the International Space Station. Now we're seeing it from one of the external cameras as the station and the Dragon cargo craft orbit over the Earth, right now in an orbital daytime, hugging the east coast of Africa right now. The Dragon CRS-25 cargo craft just successfully performed its approach initiation burn. Right now we are in joint operations with the teams here in Mission Control Houston, as well as the teams over, the SpaceX teams over in Hawthorne, California. In Hawthorne, they're controlling the Dragon spacecraft, of course, in joint operations with the teams here in Mission Control Houston, looking after the orbiting complex, the International Space Station. Teams here are led by Flight Director Allison Bollinger, that you see in sort of the center of your screen. She's leading the teams through the rendezvous operations of CRS-25 with the orbiting complex. You'll be hearing the Capcom Michael Ellsworth talking with the crew aboard the International Space Station. We have a couple of NASA astronauts standing by, ready for the monitoring operations that will be overseeing Dragon's approach and eventual docking to the International Space Station later this morning. From the back end of the room, you can see CRS-25s take center stage in the middle of the room with that tally-ho that we have from one of our external cameras, downlinking high-definition views here to Mission Control Houston. With a successful approach initiation burn, the Dragon spacecraft is now in a coast phase, heading to one of several waypoints, sort of incremental stopping points that will guide the cargo craft gently in towards the docking of the forward port, to the forward port of the International Space Station. You can see that approach initiation burn taking place about 2.5 kilometers below, though if you take a direct path to the International Space Station, the Dragon spacecraft is approximately 4.5, a little bit less at this point, 4.5 kilometers away from the station. You can see two spheres that circle the outline that you see, the silhouette of the International Space Station in this graphic. That first one is the approach ellipsoid. That one's at about 1,000-kilometer marker, and we're about 20 or so minutes away from crossing that marker. Then you see those waypoints where we hug that second circle, that's the keep out sphere. We need permission and a go from the teams, both here in Houston as well as in SpaceX, to proceed inside that keep out sphere towards the first holding point that you see up there, waypoint 2, that's at 20 meters. The 400-meter point and 20-meter point, as long as everything looks good, we'll just zoom right past those. There's no need to necessarily stop at those waypoints, really just markers to execute the series of burns to make those very precise maneuvers and line us up right on the docking axis in front of the International Space Station. Waypoint 2 will be a holding point, and another go, no-go will be assessed to make sure that everything continues to look good at that 20-meter holding point before pressing in for contact. Seven crew members are currently aboard the International Space Station, making up the complement of Expedition 67. From left to right, we have NASA astronaut Bob Hines. Hines will be taking the prime role of the monitoring operations of CRS-25 today. We have flight engineer Samantha Cristoforetti coming from the European Space Agency of Roscosmos. We have the series of cosmonauts that you see there in the center. Jessica Watkins will be taking the backup role of monitoring the CRS-25 cargo vehicle, also from NASA. And then Kjell Lindgren, who commanded the Crew 4 astronauts that you see flanking the cosmonauts there in the center, rounding out the Expedition 67 crew. So again, taking the prime role of monitoring the rendezvous of CRS-25, Jessica Watkins and Bob Hines. They're at a system called the RPOP, Rendezvous Proximity Operations Panel. It's a software that they'll use to monitor Dragon's approach. They'll be able to see telemetry of the Dragon's approach. You can see sort of a preview of that telemetry here. Right now, they're away from the monitoring tool. They did spend some time earlier this morning getting the tool set up, but really they're not required for another 20-25 minutes until they need to officially begin their duties. The Expedition 67 crew, since it is a Saturday, spent most of the morning cleaning up the space station, part of their Saturday morning cleanup duties. Watkins and Hines didn't get away from that, even though they do have the very important role of monitoring CRS-25's approach to the International Space Station. They didn't necessarily get a break from needing to participate in cleaning the inside of the space station this morning. But with that done, a lot of the crew is currently in an exercise period, though they will hold once they get into docking operations, just to minimize the vibrations of the International Space Station. So there is a chance for crew to continue exercising for the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more. And of course, everything is looking good. Right now, we're tracking an on-time docking, approximately 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 10:20 a.m. Central Time. And that will bring a lot of the cargo that's inside the CRS-25 Dragon to dock to the forward port. And allow access to the many pounds, several tons you can see of cargo that is inside. Lots of science investigations on this mission. You can see making up almost 2,500 pounds of science investigations. There's some spacewalking equipment, computer resources. There's also some unpressurized payloads that we'll preview a little bit later in our coverage, including a science experiment. There's also some maintenance hardware for there's a battery charge and discharge unit in the trunk there. But overall, we're looking at about 5,800 pounds of cargo. You're seeing some of the features of the SpaceX Dragon come a little bit clearer into view as it gets closer to the International Space Station. Since we last reported its distance of about 4,500 meters, or 4.5 kilometers away, we're now closing in on 3 kilometers. From here, you can see the blinking cargo docking light at the forward end of the Dragon. The view you're seeing now is the view that we'll have during its approach. That's sort of the top of the cone from the graphic we just saw previously. And you can see the nose cone is deployed. Towards the top of this view, you can see that that nose cone is open, exposing the docking ring and the soft capture mechanism that'll be used to make contact with the International Space Station, and will eventually make that tight seal and a hard dock with the orbiting complex. In the background, you can see clouds over the Arabian Sea. It's about to, the cargo Dragon and the International Space Station are about to cross over the southern border of Pakistan and head into an orbital nighttime. So you will see the views get a little bit darker. We may be able to see some of the navigation lights illuminate the cargo Dragon as we continue to get pretty great visuals, some high-definition views using the external cameras aboard the International Space Station, but those views will start to get a little bit darker.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at 3 live views from the International Space Station as it heads into an orbital night, where we are watching on the right side of your screen that cargo dragon beginning its approach to the International Space Station, loaded up with tons of research and science and supplies needed for the station. This mission was supposed to launch over a month ago, but due to uh, being sure that they knew a couple of the valves were going to work on Cargo Dragon, they removed it from the pad, worked on it, made sure it was safe, and now we're able to launch about 36 hours ago. Keep in mind, the International Space Station is traveling at 7.6 kilometers a second, or 4.7 miles a second, in orbit around the Earth. So Cargo Dragon's having a rendezvous with that, and then go just a little bit faster to be able to maneuver around it and dock with it. Right now, Cargo Dragon is stationed just about 3 miles away. 3 kilometers away from the station, about 1.8 miles, and slowly approaching. There are a number of go no go points where they may pause or they may proceed through. Cargo Dragon and Dragon itself have done this a number of times, where they've pretty much proceeded all the way through all of them. So we'll watch to see how that proceeds here today. But at this point, the estimated docking time is 1 hour, 6 minutes from now. On board, you can see them flicking through some of the different experiments that are on board from different universities and organizations that were able to secure contracts for payloads up to the space station. Some of these will stay up for up to 6 months for another return home. Some won't return at all. And then some will be up there just for about a month as Cargo Dragon is docked. About a month from now, we expect undocking and return of CRS-25. It could stay docked longer, but they normally use this as a turnaround. So they'll give the crew enough time to offload, do some science, and then reload it back up. So a bunch of garbage, old science, and different things they'll load back up and return Dragon to Earth. But if you're just joining us, you're looking at 3 live views of the International Space Station as it goes into an orbital night as they prepare for final rendezvous and docking. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the broadcast. It really does help us out. And if you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. We'll be answering those live, because here at the Launchpad, we believe that space is better together, and it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. So we're so glad that you are here. If you haven't yet, let us know in the chat where in the world you're watching from. We know we've got people from all over the world. We've seen India, Australia, UK, Canada, United States, and we're glad to have you all here with us this morning. But we're going to listen back in to NASA Mission Control as we watch the final rendezvous and docking of CRS-25. Stay with us.
Against the clouds of actually Pakistan at this point, we'll be making contact and docking with the forward end of the International Space Station. Now you can see the Crew 4 Dragon taking the nadir, or the zenith, or the space-facing side of the U.S. side of the International Space Station. And then you see the Soyuz MS-21 that carried the cosmonaut trio, including Oleg Artemyev, Denis Matveyev, and Sergei Korsakov. And of course the cargo spacecraft on the aft or back portion of the International Space Station is Progress 81, and on the zenith or space-facing side, Progress 80, both that brought cargo and fuel to the International Space Station. You see CRS-25, once docked later this morning, will take the forward end of the International Space Station. It's scheduled to stay for about a month. And Cargo Dragon, of course, has the ability to return to Earth, equipped with a heat shield to splash down off the coast of Florida, be recovered, and take valuable science back to some of the researchers on Earth. CRS-25 crossing the terminator line. So again, you'll start seeing the illumination of the spacecraft and the Earth behind it start to get a little dimmer as we pass over the western region of China. And we'll be heading on a northeastern track to cross into Mongolia pretty shortly. By the time we get to Mongolia, expect to have fairly dark views of the spacecraft. But with those darker views come the illumination of some of the navigation lights on board the spacecraft. You can see the docking light blinking at the center of the spacecraft, but you can see the navigation light, the port red light coming up a little bit more clearly. There's going to be a green light on the starboard side that will start to be shown a little bit more clearly once we have a orbital sunset. You can see the sun still illuminating the starboard side of the spacecraft. Back with you with live views of the inside of the International Space Station control room. Again, these teams led by Flight Director Allison Bollinger. On the phone there in the background is Michael Ellsworth. He'll be that'll be his voice that you hear from here in Mission Control Houston up to the crew. It'll be Bob Hines and Jessica Watkins that you'll be hearing respond from the International Space Station as they take the prime duties of monitoring Dragon's approach to the International Space Station. The teams here, this room being operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to oversee the orbiting complex as it orbits 16 times a day. The teams here overseeing the rendezvous operations of CRS-25. Again, we're in joint operations right now, so the teams here working with the same flight rules with the Dragon flight controllers over in Hawthorne, California. Bollinger now polling the teams here in Mission Control Houston for the next burn, approach 0. So this is a burn that's executed once we reach that waypoint. The waypoint 0 is directly below what's called the R bar. When looking at the International Space Station, it's a line that goes pretty much straight through it, straight down to the Earth. So once we reach that point, directly underneath that approach 0 burn, we'll execute the maneuver to effectively swing the spacecraft out in front of the International Space Station to line up with the docking axis. Now regaining some views from the International Space Station. Again, you see those views starting to get a little bit darker. That terminator line coming in a lot clearer with the spacecraft only 1,300 meters. That's a little over a kilometer away from the International Space Station at this time. You can see it's still pretty high up, so it's still catching some of that illumination from the sun, which is actively setting as we cross into an orbital nighttime. We also did get confirmation that the Dragon spacecraft itself did successfully execute an approach mid-course maneuver. This is sort of a correction burn to once the approach initiation burn is executed to get us to that waypoint 0. The approach mid-course just helps us along the way, making sure that we rendezvous with that point as expected. With a good burn, we're expecting to hit that waypoint in about 18 minutes.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. That bright white light you see on your screen, nope, not the sun, not a planet. That is Cargo Dragon CRS-25 on its way to the International Space Station. And you can actually see as every now and again some lights of Earth pass behind it. Those are cities that we are seeing as both Cargo Dragon and the space station travel at over 17,000 kilometers an hour, and they're getting ready for rendezvous and docking in less than an hour from now as expected time. Now, keep in mind, things can go faster or slower depending on how things need to go. This is an autonomous docking system, but it does have go, no go poles. And you can see there those thrusters starting to fire to help keep it lined up, maneuvered in the right position to approach that docking port as they work to bring over 5,000 pounds of cargo and supplies and food and research up to the International Space Station. This is a live view from 3 of the cameras on the International Space Station, giving us a great look at the orbiting laboratory. On the bottom left side, you can see there Crew Dragon Freedom docked to the top module and docking port there. Cargo Dragon, if you were going to pretend Freedom's at 12 o'clock, Cargo Dragon's going to come in at 9 o'clock on the clock, kind of in from the side and dock there, so that's why we have that video up. And then top left is looking out across one of the solar panels. We may be able to see Cargo Dragon pass by that monitor as it begins its approach there, but we'll wait and see. Sometimes they'll move that camera as well for another view, but you can see some more cities passing in the dark behind Cargo Dragon right now, currently passing over very southern tip of Russia. This is one of those few passes where it hits the passes the Russian border on a fly over there. If you hadn't heard a little bit of space news, Roscosmos's director general has been relieved by President Putin of Russia of his duties. So Rogozin is no longer the director and CEO of Roscosmos. A new one has been put into place. The former deputy prime minister and minister of defense is now the new director of Roscosmos, ushering in a new era to Roscosmos. So we'll wait to see how things proceed. That news coming just hours after SpaceX and NASA and Roscosmos finalized a deal to have the first cosmonaut board SpaceX Crew 5, the first ever Russian to join a crew SpaceX mission to the International Space Station, resuming joint operations of flying Americans on Russian crafts and Russians on American crafts. So we'll see how things all play out for that. Crew 5 expected to launch early, I believe next year at this time. But if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of CRS-25 as it approaches the International Space Station. The bright white light, those are the docking lights you can see as Cargo Dragon approaches the space station. There are a couple different lights on there. Right now we're only seeing the big bright white light from the middle of the docking port as well as the hatch there. But there are some red and green lights as well as it gets closer that will become more visible. That'll get you a clearer view of port and starboard side of the ship and give us some greater idea of the orientation of the ship. And we can also see those thrusters now and again doing little firings to help maintain and continue Cargo Dragon's approach to the International Space Station. If you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat. We'll work on answering those live. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button and subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview, because here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And we're glad to have you here. Take a moment, share out the broadcast as well, as we are about 40 minutes away, or 54 minutes, away from the estimated time of docking. But keep in mind that can go faster or slower as the teams approach that go, no-go point. And if I'm correct, we are seeing there in that top left view of your screen one of two options. Either Cargo Dragon is there, or we're seeing the moon. I believe that is Cargo Dragon, though, beginning to do a slow pass-by of that view. So we'll tune back into NASA SpaceX Mission Control to listen in as we await the docking of CRS-25. Keep sending in your questions in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. I see one really quick here. Beast asking, why is that capsule so bright? Just the orientation of the camera and the light hitting the camera in that sense. It is a bright white light, but there are other lights that'll become more visible shortly. But let's listen in to NASA SpaceX Mission Control as we see more thruster firings of CRS-25 making its final rendezvous and approach to the International Space Station.
International Space Station pointing towards it, which is why it's taking on that illumination. In the meantime, the Dragon spacecraft is inside the approach ellipsoid.
Station on 2, Dragon is in sight. Station on 2, Dragon is in sight.
We copy Dragon Tally-ho.
All right, and at 9:29 a.m. Central Time, we got confirmation from Jessica Watkins on board the International Space Station. The crew has a tally-ho of the SpaceX cargo Dragon. They visually see it. In the meantime, the International Space Station flight control teams did pull, or were pulled by Flight Director Allison Bollinger, and gave a go for approach 0. So this is the burn that will be executed once the spacecraft reaches waypoint 0, which is 400 meters directly below the International Space Station. So they're on track to execute that maneuver in just a little over 8 minutes. In the meantime, we're getting steady views from the International Space Station. The view you see here, overexposing the Dragon. So that's that bright light that you see off to the right side. With that overexposure, you can see some of the plumes from the Draco thrusters that are helping to maneuver the spacecraft to rendezvous with the waypoint 0. The flight controllers are tracking some of those white flecks that you see passing into view. They're, as of now, they are of no concern, though they are looking into investigating what that is. The red flecks that you see are radiation damage of the camera itself, radiation destroying some of the pixels of the camera itself.
Вчера доклада не было, да?
Нет, доклада не было, поэтому давай без по-моему, давай точно.
Ну, сейчас посмотрю, стоит ли там ков, да? И сколько там воды, да, тебе надо сказать?
Ну, там он должен быть полный практически, потому что вчера его должны были поменять. Не знаю, как там, тебе проще спросить у ребят или посмотреть самому. Ну, в общем, нам надо убедиться, что ЕДВ-ков в МЛМ поменяли и замена не требуется сейчас.
К какому сроку тебе это нужно?
Если до твоего занятия на Эрге скажешь, нас это устроит.
А я уже занимаюсь. Поэтому какое время, скажи крайнее, когда тебе надо?
До 17
Flight
часов.
controllers continuing to track the Dragon's approach to the International Space Station, reporting everything looks good. The systems on board, the Dragon looks healthy, and the trajectory is looking nominal.
Хорошо. Ну, может быть, тогда заодно...
We're a little less than 3.5 minutes from executing that approach zero burn, while we'll be directly underneath the International Space Station. And you can tell that we're closing in on that. The range rate is getting much slower, so the Dragon's approach is slowing down. We're at about 0.2 meters per second at this time, and the range is 416 meters from the International Space Station. It's about the 400 meter mark is really what we're heading towards. That will be waypoint 0 when it is directly beneath. And depending on the camera exposure that we see from this view, you may start seeing the Draco thruster plumes start firing as that approach 0 burn is initiated. It's a relatively quick burn because really it's just a maneuver burn just to swing us out in front of the International Space Station, but that's coming up here in about 2.5 minutes.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at 3 live views from the International Space Station, about 400 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, where in the top left screen and the big right screen, you can see Cargo Dragon CRS-25 beginning its final rendezvous and approach of the International Space Station. Docking expected in roughly about 40 minutes. That can take a delay as they come through those spheres of influence of the station and those final go no go points and waypoints along the approach line. They said the burn about 30 minutes away expected for that final approach. And you can see there some of those thrusters firing on Cargo Dragon, making sure it's all lined up with the port where it's going to rendezvous and dock here in about 40 minutes. If you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat, and we'll be answering those as we go through today's docking. But if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does help us out, and YouTube as well. And share out the broadcast to let people know that we are coming close to a final rendezvous and docking. This is where it gets very interesting, getting to watch Dragon do its final thruster maneuvers and really come into detail as we get to see it. In the bottom left corner of your screen is where we're actually going to be seeing Cargo Dragon come in and dock to on it. They did adjust the camera just a little bit, but that is where we will also see the docking occur. So 3 amazing views from station here this morning as we watch CRS-25 make its final rendezvous and docking. Federock, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. What's the final approach velocity up to contact? You were talking decimal places of meters a second. So very slow, just I think it's 0.1, 0.2 meters a second's the goal. As they don't want to, you have to remember the station is in orbit, which is technically floating. So you don't want to apply a lot of pressure because you don't want to add a shimmy to the station. You don't want to push the station. You just want to softly dock to it enough that you don't bounce away either. So there's a kind of a Goldilocks spot there for that rendezvous and docking to have that soft capture, and then they'll go for hard capture. So we'll stay live through all of that. But keep sending in those questions, take us at the launch pad, and we'll keep listening in to station to ground and mission control as we continue through today's docking procedure. On board, over 5,800 pounds of cargo, 26,000 kilograms of cargo. On board, fuel supplies, crew supplies, science and research investigations. CRS-25 will be docked to the station for about a month before undocking and returning home in the end of August. But obviously we'll keep an eye on that due to weather in Florida for splashdown conditions, as well as just the busyness. Let's listen in.
Houston's listening, go ahead.
We see us transition to step 2 and 1.102. We see the vehicle mode as transition to docking access and range 340.
We concur, see you in step 2.
So you could hear there the crew talking back down to Houston about the range of Cargo Dragon and its approach and how they're looking to astronauts preparing to work through the arrival now on station. They had a little bit of a break there before final approach, but they are now back on station preparing for that final approach and docking to the International Space Station. At this time, the solar panels have been confirmed stored and parked to make sure that they have left open room for Cargo Dragon to be able to do its approach as they go through this final approach there. They lock a couple of the solar panels to give enough space. Not that Cargo Dragon couldn't fit otherwise, but they want to give it a little extra breathing room for it. But if you guys have questions, keep sending those in the chat, and let's listen back into NASA SpaceX Mission Control.
As expected, things are looking very good for Dragon's approach. Passing that waypoint 0 and that approach 0 milestone and heading to waypoint 1. The difference in the waypoint is waypoint 0 is directly below and waypoint 1 is directly in front. Once it passes waypoint 1, it'll start making its approach to go inside the keep-out sphere. The teams here in Mission Control Houston will poll ahead of time to make sure the vehicle is in a good configuration and good status before giving that go to enter that keep-out sphere. There's no pausing. That's planned at the 220-meter mark. They could pause if they wanted to, but the nominal rendezvous trajectory and plan has us pass that waypoint 1. Executing a waypoint 1 or approach 1 burn to push in right along the docking axis, really straight in towards the docking. Now we're starting to see those views from the International Space Station, those high-definition views looking down at the Dragon spacecraft, which is currently 330 meters, hugging the outside of that keep-out sphere, making its approach from below the International Space Station to right above. We're about to cross into an orbital daytime. So you'll start seeing the views of the Dragon spacecraft itself, as well as the views behind it, start getting a little bit brighter. Right now, the space station is right over the center of the Pacific Ocean. It's about 260 statute miles. It's hugging the Terminator line, which right now is really cutting right down the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So we'll start seeing some views of the Pacific Ocean, perhaps some cloud coverage here very shortly.
And if you're just joining us, you can see a live view there from the International Space Station and Cargo Dragon making its approach. They're really starting to come into view as the station passes back into an orbital day period. You can see that crisp line of bright light on one side and darkness on the other as we are just starting to come into that orbital daylight period. This is always one of the best times to be able to see those thruster firings, but a great sign that we should be most likely in a day period for docking if they don't have any delays to their approach at any of the waypoints. So we will see how they proceed through those points as we go. We are currently about 31 and a half minutes away from the estimated time of docking from NASA, but those waypoint points do have go, no go, so they could see slight delays there. We heard a couple of minutes ago on station and ground that they were about 330 meters away from the station, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. If you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat, but don't forget, take a moment, engage that like and subscribe button. It really does help us out, and then you'll never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview right here on the Launchpad, always for free, and we're so glad to have you here. If you'd like to help support us, take a moment, consider becoming a Patreon, so we can help continue to bring you the best possible coverage of everything space from around the world by expanding our team, or you can hit that join button, but then YouTube takes their chat as well, their percent as well, or through super chats. If you like space, consider following us over on Twitter, where we live tweet space news as it happens, and join us over on our Discord, where we're hanging out in live comms, counting down towards today's docking. And we really appreciate it. But let's listen back into SpaceX Mission Control and NASA Mission Control as we are about 30 minutes away from the estimated docking of CRS-25 to the International Space Station.
The Dragon cargo craft, about 312 meters from the International Space Station. It really doesn't change in distance as it makes this maneuver from below the International Space Station to right in front. It really hugs the outside of what's called the keep-out sphere, which is roughly 180 to 200 meters away from the International Space Station. So it maintains that distance as it goes in front. But as it makes this maneuver, the timing here could not be more perfect. We're about a little more than halfway from below the space stations to right in front. So if you were looking at a clock, we'd be somewhere around 7 or 8 o'clock. And that just happens to line up perfectly with an orbital sunrise over the southern Pacific Ocean. Everything looking good. The teams now are on a go, no-go poll for proceeding past waypoint 1 and executing the approach 1 burn. So this means when it's right in front of the International Space Station, really right along the docking axis, if we get that go, they'll go ahead and proceed with initiating those thrusters. There's no need to pause at that waypoint. The waypoint is roughly 220 meters directly in front of the International Space Station. That go is really also a go to proceed past waypoint 1 and cross into the keep-out sphere. Again, that poll is underway. Dragon's approach continues to look good. We're a little over 300 meters from the International Space Station, just taking in some fantastic high-definition views as it makes its way to waypoint 1. Regaining those views, we'll be handing over for some of the satellites throughout today's coverage. Those tracking and data relay satellites that are in geosynchronous orbit, a little more than 23,000 miles away from Earth. But we're getting those views now and enjoying them as we cross the terminator line into an orbital sunrise over the southern Pacific Ocean. We did get confirmation from Allison Bollinger, the flight director here in Mission Control Houston. Mission Control Houston is go to proceed past waypoint 1, which means once we rendezvous with waypoint 1 here in approximately 9 minutes, we'll go ahead and execute the approach 1 burn and push in from about approximately the 220 meter mark straight in into the keep-out sphere towards waypoint 2. Waypoint 2 is a holding point about 20 meters away, so that'll be the first and likely only hold until we get the go to proceed in towards a contact and capture on the forward end of the International Space Station. We are making some great progress, so we're still targeting 10:13 a.m. Central Time to make contact.
Approaching the corridor. Orientation is as expected. Vehicle is approaching. Approaching the corridor.
Houston copies, concurs with all.
Rotation is as expected.
Houston copies, concurs with all.
That was the voice of Jessica Watkins from on board the International Space Station. Again, she's working with Bob Hines, the two of them monitoring Dragon's approach, reporting great trajectory for the Dragon spacecraft. It is well on its way towards what's called the approach corridor. It's a cone-shaped range, really, that's in front of the International Space Station, and it sets the stage for Dragon making its approach. It's still on its way to waypoint 1. We got about 7.5 minutes until it makes it to there. We'll execute that approach 1 burn to push slowly in. The range rate is very slow at this point. You can see it's making very methodical approach to that point. We're at about 0.09 meters per second, but everything is looking good. So again, Dragon continuing its approach. You can see some of the plumes from the Draco thrusters as it makes its way towards waypoint 1. We're about a minute away from waypoint 1. Now, based on the latest calculations of the trajectory, we are going relatively slow, so we have a new time that we're aiming for docking. That's 10:18 a.m. Central Time. "30 seconds to waypoint 1.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at 3 beautiful live views from the International Space Station as CRS-25 makes its approach to the International Space Station. You can see there a bunch of thruster firing from CRS-25 as it approaches waypoint 1. It's absolutely incredible shot there. We just heard there an updated estimated time of docking, which is about 12 minutes from now, but that actually is the same time we were expecting. So we'll see if they maybe misspoke there and are delaying there before we update our countdown. But right now we are still targeting that original countdown time for docking. But let's listen in to Mission Control.
Video and data are updating in the Dragon docking monitor. And if you bring that up on SSC 17, we can follow along on the ground as well.
Copy and work on SSC 17.
Copy, Waddy. And while you're working on that, just want to let you know that Houston and station are go for Dragon to approach to 20 meters.
We go to 20 meters.
And Waddy, we like that video.
And Houston Station has good DDM video.
Houston copies and concurs.
And with that, you heard Jessica Watkins reporting. They've got good video. This is what she's looking at. This is her screen. Her and Bob Hines, NASA astronauts, taking the monitoring role, watching CRS-25 push in for a docking after successfully executing the Approach 1 burn, confirming from here in Mission Control Houston that burn looked good, so we're pushing in, and we're proceeding into the Keep Out sphere towards waypoint 2, the 20-meter hold. Getting great video from the Dragon through that Common Communications for Visiting Vehicle, or C2V2, a connection between the Dragon vehicle and the International Space Station that's providing that linked video directly from Dragon to the International Space Station. So we're pushing in. We're a little under 180 meters at this point. Inside the Keep Out sphere, making a slow and methodical approach to the waypoint 2 holding point, about 0.3 meters per second. We're anticipating waypoint 2 arrival in a little less than 8.5 minutes. And again, the new estimate for a contact time where CRS-25 will make physical contact with the forward end of the International Space Station. The new target that we have is 10:18 a.m. Central Time. Now only 140 meters from the International Space Station, zooming in from the external cameras provides fantastic high-definition views. We'll be seeing illuminated views of the Dragon spacecraft from here on out until we make physical contact with the International Space Station. We'll be in orbital daytime until that docking time. Everything's again looking good for that approach right now. Flight Director Allison Bollinger going around the room here in Mission Control Houston, getting a poll from each of the flight control positions to ensure that we are go to proceed past the waypoint 2 holding point. Again, we'll make an assessment once we get to waypoint 2, but there's a chance we may push right after holding at waypoint 2. We may push very shortly afterwards towards a docking to meet that anticipated 10:18 contact time. But again, Flight Director Bollinger going around the room now to get a sense.
Full block Bravo. Range is 123. The vehicle is in the corridor. Orientation is as expected. Vehicle mode is approach to align point.
We concur, so we see that takes you to step 3.
And again, NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins reporting the status of the CRS-25's approach at predetermined markers throughout the approach sequence. Again, everything continues to look good. We're pressing in towards waypoint 2, 20 meters away. Right now we're sitting at about 110 meters. We did receive confirmation here at Mission Control Houston ahead of the waypoint 2 arrival. The Dragon spacecraft itself is configured for docking, still maintaining great connection and great views from the Dragon spacecraft itself, looking at the International Space Station. When we cycle through those views, you can see the Crew 4 vehicle docked to the Zenith port, or the space-facing port. You see there'll be 2 Dragons docked to the International Space Station for about a month.
Station on 2, we have reviewed steps 5 and 6, and we are ready for docking.
Houston copies that you are ready for docking. We'll let you know when we are there as well.
And it's seeming like we're not going to be holding at waypoint 2 for long. We did receive confirmation from Jessica Watkins, the crew on board the International Space Station. That's Bob Hines and Jessica Watkins. You can actually see the outline of the cupola from this Dragon view. If you look off to the right, where the Japanese module is, the gem, right underneath it, you can see the windows, the 7-bay window of the cupola poking out there, so you know that Jessica Watkins and Bob Hines have visual contact right now with the CRS-25 vehicle that's 66 meters away. So there go, and we did receive confirmation from the mission director out in Hawthorne, California, that the teams there at SpaceX are also go. Again, Allison Bollinger here in Mission Control Houston, polling her team to make sure that the Mission Control team here in Houston is go. That poll being conducted ahead of the waypoint 2 arrival, which is expected 2 minutes from now. As long as everything looks good, we won't be holding at waypoint 2 for long, and we'll press in for docking.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at some incredible live views from the International Space Station as CRS-25 makes its final approach to the International Space Station, now just 30 meters away from the port that it should be docking to. It'll be arriving at waypoint 2, and it may continue right through that. Station is clear. Let's listen in to mission control.
We get confirmation of a good hold. Don't expect to be holding there for very long before we push in for docking. That waypoint 2 arrival is expected in about 15 seconds. We're sitting at about 23 meters. Again, that hold is at 20, and we're slowing down our range rate to about 0.15 meters per second.
And there we have it. They entering a hold at the waypoint 2, about 20 meters off of the station. You can see there some incredible high definition views of Cargo Dragon as it makes its approach. Station having said they are go for approach and docking. Station is all configured and ready. Just waiting for teams on the ground in Houston and SpaceX Mission Control to confirm that Dragon is ready to begin that approach. So right now it's just holding at that 20-meter point. In the bottom left view, you can see a great kind of distance comparison of where it's going. And that capsule is going to pass right behind that silver module and then dock to the node and docking port just behind it. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage the like button, share out the broadcast as we are just a few minutes away from docking. They are running a little bit longer than their current schedule. Estimated time of docking about 2 to 3 minutes from now, but they are holding at that 20-meter hold point, so we'll wait for them to proceed through there, and they'll be just a couple minutes away from docking once they proceed through that actual that final burn for approach. And we'll be keeping an eye on that, and it looks like we have been given a go as that meter is now closing, gaining a little bit of speed, and it looks like Cargo Dragon has been given a go for final approach.
The Dragon hold we performed at waypoint 2 was very brief, so Dragon is now resuming approach and go for docking. You can go ahead and monitor for steps 5 and 6 in approach and go for docking. You can go ahead and monitor for steps 5 and 6 in 1.102, Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Copy a go for docking after a short hold, and we'll go on steps 5 and 6.
Good copy.
And there you have it, a go after a short hold there. CRS-25 heading to the International Space Station, passing through approach point, waypoint 2. Station is ready, Dragon is ready, and we'll see that capsule very slowly pass behind that last module as it makes its final approach to the International Space Station.
15 meters.
Houston copies, concurs. Good report.
Good report from the crew. That approach from the waypoint 2 holding point is looking good. We're pressing in towards a contact and capture. Now we are temporarily losing that video from the International Space Station. We should regain it shortly, but we do still have good data flowing in from the Dragon vehicle. We're about 10 meters away. You're getting a live view of the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Flight Director Allison Bollinger leading the teams here monitoring Dragon's approach. Jessica Watkins and Bob Hines aboard the International Space Station also monitoring, and then of course working hand in hand with the SpaceX flight control team out in Hawthorne, California. 9 meters in closing.
Dragon and Station are currently passing over the southern Atlantic Ocean. That's why we're in a bit of a dark zone for the ground pass. We don't have any actual live views of the station All those views you
Houston on
see.
2, primary range is decreasing. Range is 5 meters. Vehicle is centered. Largest excursion observed is 1 degree.
All those camera angles you see on the screen right now, those are placeholder images in Mission Control as they wait to regain actual visuals, but they do still have a good downlink of data and are monitoring and still have comms as well as we approach 5 meters to the International Space Station.
From the crew, we are proceeding towards a contact here shortly. 3 meters and closing.
Stop.
Copy, chap.
Crew hands off point.
Meter.
1 meter and closing. And we're getting views right at the last second.
Dragon contact and soft capture complete.
10:21 a.m.
Soft capture complete.
10:21 a.m. Central Time, 11:21 a.m. Eastern, 267 statute miles. Audible laughter from here in Mission Control as we do lose views right after a confirmed capture. We did get those views though to see it actually go in, which was fantastic. But we did have a confirmed soft capture at 10:21 a.m. Central Time. The International Space Station and Dragon spacecraft were over the South Atlantic Ocean, 267 statute miles.
And really great to see even Mission Control having a laugh there that, we, the last few Dragon dockings, we haven't had live views, and we were lucky enough to get downlink there for, about 60 seconds, see it dock, and then all of the views are clicked away again right now as they are over the middle of the Southern Atlantic Ocean. It looks like views are starting to spool back up here again, and we now have a good live view of Dragon attached to the International Space Station. CRS-25 officially docked, soft capture complete, and we'll now go through that process of driving the 12 bolts to harden the Dragon to the International Space Station. But we'll listen back into Mission Control here in just a moment. But if it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. And here on TLP, we bring you full live launch coverage, space briefings, space news updates, and exclusive one-on-one interviews. So if it's your first time here, take a moment, engage that subscribe button. It's free to do, and hit the like as well. It really does help us out as we cover both the big and the little guys from around the world. But CRS-25 officially at the station, 2 SpaceX Dragons now on board station. Now they'll go through the process of doing the hard dock confirm, which will take a number of minutes, so we'll listen in to Mission Control as they go through that process. If you guys have questions, you can send that to us in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those as well. If you haven't yet, you want to join an awesome space community, consider joining us over on Discord. It's totally free to do so. Take a moment and check out our TLP shop to order your Artemis and Starship orbital flight gear prior to those orbital flights. Shipping around the world is possible. And follow us on Twitter so you never miss space news as it happens. But we'll be answering your guys' questions here for the next little bit. Should have just replayed one from the last time, wouldn't have known. We would have known. You can see the Earth's different each time. But a great docking there from the station. Hearing communications through station to ground.
Да, сейчас я уточню. Подождите тогда. СМКС по Москве разглядим для Дениса по ЕДВ КОВ.
Да, на связи.
Денис, номер 1417.
Сергей сепарировал.
Да, все верно, вчера сепарировали.
Хорошо, сейчас поменяем.
Houston on 2, we see undocking complete, sensors 1
Спасибо.
and 2 off OFF and have started the stopwatch.
We concur, and our status is that ring retraction is now complete, so docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration. We're working that from the ground.
Station copies all. Station copies all.
And you heard that soft capture ring has fully retracted, meaning the soft capture ring did its job of pulling the spacecraft in for a nice seal with the international docking adapter on the forward end of the International Space Station. There is very fine-tuned, very calculated attitude control maneuvers that the attitude control officer. Yeah, there we go. The International Space Station attitude control has to be configured prior to those hooks driving to be on control moment gyros only. The ADCO officer that you see at the bottom of your screen has just confirmed that the space station itself is using gyros only to hold the attitude in place, meaning we're in a good configuration from the space station side to proceed with driving those hooks for a hard mate. And Flight Director Allison Bollinger just gave that go to the mission director.
Station Houston, MCS is configured. We're proceeding with hook driving.
Copies, we see CMG only.
Capcom Michael Ellsworth.
Your stopwatch is no longer required.
Copy all.
Capcom Michael Ellsworth reporting to the crew that sequence is underway. Jessica Watkins confirming from the International Space Station. Again, she's working with Bob Hines, but both of them monitoring Dragon's approach and watching the sequence unfold. We are proceeding towards driving those hooks. And we got confirmation. Again, there's 12 hooks that create a hard mate between the Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station. 6 of them have driven and have closed. We have a good latch on those first 6. The other 6 are driving. And we got confirmation the last 6 hooks have driven and are closed. The soft capture ring is stowing, and we're waiting for confirmation of a successful hard mate to the International Space Station.
Station Houston on 2, hard capture complete.
Station copies, hard capture complete. Congratulations to the SpaceX and NASA team on a successful rendezvous and docking of SpaceX CRS-25. When faced with unforeseen challenges, this team remained vigilant and focused, ensuring today's delivery of groundbreaking science and crucial supplies to the International Space Station. We look forward to executing the remainder of the mission with you all. Welcome aboard.
Station Houston, we appreciate those words. Get some cheers around here as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for all the hard work.
And some words from NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins on board the International Space Station. She was next to NASA astronaut Bob Hines, watching Dragon's approach and monitoring, making sure that the 5,800 pounds of precious cargo inside that spacecraft made its way successfully to the International Space Station, and it did. We had a soft capture confirmed at 10:21 a.m. Central Time this morning. And we did get past a good hard mate with the International Space Station. With that, with an on-time docking to the International Space Station, the crew's day is not quite done. With successful approach monitoring and a successful hard capture, teams will work together to open up the hatches, making their way until eventually the Dragon hatch is opened and they have access to the precious cargo inside the Dragon spacecraft. That hatch open is expected to occur in approximately an hour and a half, shortly after noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The crew will have access to the cargo inside, and they're scheduled to, later this afternoon, begin transfer operations, taking some of the critical cargo from inside the pressurized part of the Dragon spacecraft and bring it inside the International Space Station. Their space station flight controllers switching attitude control back to normal with a successful hard mate. And they'll proceed for the rest of the day getting some of that cargo from inside the International Space Station. It's been quite a journey after launching 8:44 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:44 p.m. Central on July 14th, making a journey over a little more than a day and a half to rendezvous and make contact with the International Space Station at 10:21 a.m. Central Time this morning, July 16th. That time was 10:21 at the time. The space station and the Dragon spacecraft are 267 statute miles over the southern Atlantic Ocean. We heard congratulatory words from NASA astronauts Jessica Watkins and from the teams in Mission Control Houston. With that, that'll wrap up our coverage of today's rendezvous and docking operation. CRS-25 officially attached to the International Space Station and will be for the next month. With that, this is Mission Control Houston.
And there we have it. Mission complete. CRS-25 now on station up at the International Space Station over 400 kilometers above the surface of Earth in low Earth orbit. We want to thank you all for joining us here live on the launch pad for our live docking coverage of today's final rendezvous and docking. Make sure you've engaged that subscribe button so never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. We will be, of course, live for the undocking in about a month from now, but until then, a couple launches coming up. We are 24 hours away from Starlink 4-22. In about 5 days, we've got Starlink 3-2. We have Electron coming up on the 22nd of July, another Starlink on the 24th of July. We have possibly a India demo flight on the 31st, as well as the maiden flight of a China rocket. We've got a Delta IV Heavy, a very rare flight to see, targeting August 1st, the first of three of the last. We got one this year, one next year, one the year after that. We have a Korea lunar orbiter coming up on the 2nd of August. We've had Atlas V on the 4th of August. So lots of missions coming up that we will bring you full live launch coverage right here on the launch pad. If you haven't yet, join us over on our Discord. We've got an amazing community. It's totally free to join. Follow us on Twitter so you never miss space news as it happens. And take a moment as we wrap up to check out our shop, to the launchpad.store. There you can get all your space gear. Global shipping is available. And if you become a TLP member, there are exclusive TLP discounts for our membership tiers. So definitely take a moment, check that out. Our TLP reward system just launched, so a great way to be able to get some free points from our shop to place towards your orders, even for birthdays as well. But as I said, here at the Launchpad, we believe that space is better together, and this concludes our live coverage of CRS-25's final rendezvous and docking. This is Zach from TLP Network Studios. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.